All right, we've got almost everybody here, so we'll jump in and see what the week holds. So, let's see. Last week we just had a multiple choice assignment over indexing, slicing, and some concatenation. We studied three things last week's lesson, and we're going to use them all this week in this week's lesson. So this week's lesson is going to be a lot more than last time. Last time was just a simple print statement. Now we're going to learn about input statements today. So we use that in our program, indexing or slicing, and concatenation on our program this week. So it's a big step up. So let's take a look at what our lesson looks like. Foundations of programming. All right, and just looking at the grade screen once again, just to keep track of where we're at. So last week was 1.04. So that was what was due last week, 1.04. This week we are on 1.05 string input. Then next week we're finishing this module 1 exam next week. So we have one more program to write before we get to the module 1 exam. And a lot of these modules, we don't have an exam. We have a program to write at the end as the exam, but this one's actually an exam this week. So let's look at 1.05. Back to the activity screen. We'll go down to 1.05. The lesson right here. Come on. It's a little slow. It's had a long weekend too. All right. So input strings. Like if you've ever experienced the joy of ordering food online, congrats. It's probably one of the many encounters you've had with providing user input. Anytime you use a search engine or, if you go to Amazon, look at products, search for products. When you choose white or wheat bread and make a special note to hold the mayo, you expect the restaurant to do something with that information, right? You've provided input that they should use. So say you want to write a program that asks users to input information you could use. Lucky for you, Python has an input function, and we're going to use that this week in our program. So we're going to learn how to use the input function to ask the user for specific input. And then we're going to define the input and output using pseudocode. We're going to learn about pseudocode this week. Pseudocode basically means fake code, like it's not real. Pseudo, if something's pseudo, it's not real. So I'm not talking about real code, but we're going to write pseudocode before we write our program. So we're going to talk about that today. All right, so getting user input. So far your program has been pretty one-sided. You just printed something to the screen, right? You written something for yourself, print a screen. But we're assuming that when you write a program, you're not the only one that wants to interact with the program. So there's another skill we're going to need is being able to be interactivity with your programs. So you're going to write code that will interact with the user of your code and assign values. So let's learn how to make it interactive. Programs that prompt the user for a response. So there's this function called input. If we click on that, it's a link. What's it showing me? Right here. Here's the input function. So here's some examples of it. User prompt equal, quote, please enter your first name, unquote. So that's taking a string literal assigned to the variable. So this is a variable user prompt. Please enter your first name. And so then what they're doing is first name, that's another variable, equals input. And then they're going to display whatever's user prompt. So there's the user prompt. Please enter your first name. So we'll show that on the screen and have the user of your program actually input something. Then here's another one. They said age equals, and they want it to be an integer. So they're telling Python this is going to be an integer value, which means it won't have a decimal. It'll just be a whole number. And they're doing input equals, please enter your age, parentheses, quote, parentheses, because they have two open parentheses. This time they're combining it all in one statement. The first time we made a variable called user prompt, and then we said input user prompt, which means it'll show this on the screen. The second time we just said assign to this variable age, and we just put the input right in the statement. Just input this. Instead of assigning a variable and having it print the variable, we could just put the quotes right there in the input statement. Input this. Please enter your age. Then here's where it uses concatenation. Print first name, the variable, is, and then another print statement, print the age. Now we have to tell it, make it a string because it won't print it as an integer. We want to, because we're adding it to letters. If we're adding it to a string, we got to tell it a string. Years old. So it would take these two inputs into your first name, Bob, I'm 17, and it would print Bob is 17 years old. So this is using concatenation and inputs in the same thing. So the integer function converts a string value to a floating point number. So user input into your age, and then we say age is going to be an integer. So it knows it's a number. Here's another command we can use. LEN. That says the length. What is the length of this? How many characters are in this? So if we take a variable called state and assign Florida to that variable, and now we have list of states, and we're assigning 3 variables at the same time. We're taking 3 variables, and so list of states this is becoming a list here. Colorado, California, Florida. And then we have num characters. So we're creating another variable. So we're creating variables here. We're just assigning values to these variables. And we say we want num characters to be the length of state. So that should return 7, right? Because that's state is Florida. So, and number of items in list, because we created this list. Now notice with the list, we put brackets around the outside. And you don't have to use lists in this week's program, but just want you to see this. So the number of items, we say, what's the length of list of states? Well, that tells you how many things are on the list. So it should come back with a 3 is the value that is assigned to number of items in list. So it's throwing a whole bunch of commands at you right here that you can look through. Look, there's a bunch of them. We're not going to go through all of them. But this gives you examples. What's that, Rebecca?
You aren't presenting like what you're talking about.
Oh, it's not presenting it, is it? Oh, wow. It opened up another tab and it did not show the other tab. So let me thank you for pointing that out, that it is not sharing. Here, I'll switch. There you go. It was not showing the tab. So when I clicked on that link input, it brought up this tab and it has all of these functions right here, built-in functions. And you can look at all the function it has. Here's append that adds an item to a list. And here's examples of how that works. Binary, if you want to convert something to binary, I don't know why you'd want to convert something to binary, but you might. There's the commands for that. To ASCII, we'll look at ASCII later in the semester or later in the year. Float, hex, input. This gives you a whole bunch of statements you can use. The length of something, integers, input. But here's the input one that we're learning this week. When you click on that, it'll take you to this part of the list, because this has, and this is a great thing to refer to, this has a whole bunch of different commands that we use. Whole bunch of different commands that we'll use a lot of them throughout the year. Not necessarily all of them, like speed. We didn't use speed, but you can. These are things you can add into programs if you want to. Come look at these examples and see what it tells you it's doing. And you can do that. Show turtle. We will be doing some graphic drawing, very basic graphic drawing with the turtle, little turtle that moves around. And this gives you a bunch of commands on how to make the turtle do things on the screen. So I'm going to get into turtle graphics. But there is a lot of commands right here. All right, I'm going to close that. All right. But that is right here on page 2, input. When you click on that link right there, that's when it opens up this other window and has all those commands. It opens you right to the input part, but there's all these other commands there. So if you want to get fancier with your programs early, you can play around with some of these commands. If it's not required and you can't figure it out and it gives you an error, take it out. All right. Important. To get input, you must prompt the user. And prompt means it's a statement or question used to communicate that you want something. That's why you provide a string little prompt like enter your name or do you like Oreos or whatever you want your prompt to be to give the user some instructions. So let's look at this statement here. First name, this is the variable, equals. So here's what the variable equals. Here's what we put in there. And we use this input statement to like, I don't know what it equals yet. I'm going to ask whoever's using my program to enter something, and I'm going to store it as first name. So I would say, hello, what is your name? So that would be what they're asking. That's what's going to display on the screen for the user. So let's look at this down here. All right, we're going to read the code and try to predict the output. So hashtag input sample. So that's just a comment. We're going to define our main function. Then you got to indent 1, 2, 3, 4. They went 4 spaces. First name, that's a variable. Remember, because we don't put any spaces in a variable. We capitalize all the words after the first one. We don't capitalize the first word. Input, enter your name. Print hello, comma, whatever your name is with an exclamation mark in the main function. So you got a good idea what's going to happen here, right? Let's run the program and see. Oh, look, this box popped up at the top and it says enter your name. That's exactly what was put in the program down here. Enter your name. Oh, well, my name is Bob, and I'm going to spell it backwards. I'm just kidding. That's Bob. When I enter that, it says, hello, Bob, because it took that variable that I entered Bob into, and it did concatenation where it added it with some actual literal string text. Print that, and then whatever I entered, and then an exclamation mark. All right, let's take another step here. Read the code, try to predict the output. Select run program, enter Grace as the name. Okay, let's run it and enter Grace. Grace. Hello, Grace. Every time you run it, whatever you enter. Mr. Brock. Hello, Mr. Brock. Whatever you enter, should work there. All right, now let's see. Oh, something changed. Some variable. Some variable. Your value is some variable. Let's run the program. Look at this. It says an embedded page says it doesn't tell us what it wants. It just has a blank. The last one said right out here, it said enter your name. This doesn't say enter your name. This just says input something. Okay. We're going to enter hippopotamus then, because we don't know what we're supposed to put in there. Your value is hippopotamus. See, something seems to be missing. Did you know what to type for the input? No, we don't know what the program was going to do. We didn't know what it was asking for. There's no prompt given there. There's nothing in there that's going to display with that input. And we need something. So let's click next and see how to fix that. Fix the input statement by including the prompt, what is your favorite animal? Hey, I actually guessed what to put in there, but I hadn't even looked at this program. So I'm going to copy that and make it easy. So if I go to input and make this say input, what is your favorite animal in quotes? Now when I run it, what is your favorite animal? Oh, it's a hippopotamus. Hippopotamus. There you are. I spelled it wrong last time. Hippopotamus. Your favorite animal is hippopotamus. So when you have an input statement, you need to give the program user a clue on what they're inputting. And the box just pops up. You want my age? You want my name? You want me to give the answer to a question? I don't know what you want. You need something with your input statement so the user doesn't just look at a blank box. All right, let's see. Do we have more? Yeah, more. Okay. Now read the code, try to predict the output, select run. Define main, input, what is your favorite animal? Your favorite animal is, okay, that's what we just did. We fixed that one and made that. So they're just showing us what it should look like. But this time they did not. Oh, this could be a problem. What is your favorite animal? Hippopotamus. Error. Fave animal is not defined. We told it to print your favorite animal is fave animal, but this program doesn't define that. Fave animal's not there. If we go back and look at the previous line, it had some variable. This one has fave animal, but we didn't define that. So we should go here and say fave animal equals input. Now let's run it and see if it works. Did we fix it? Hippopotamus. Your favorite animal is hippopotamus. If you tell it to print something, make sure you define that somewhere. It had no idea what fave animal was supposed to be. Didn't know what to print because we didn't define fave animal. We just had an input statement without any variable assigned to it. All right, this says write the code to ask for the user's favorite pizza topping. Because if we run it now, it just says error because fave pizza top is not defined. We told it to print something that hadn't been defined. There'd be different classes for different coding languages. Yeah, if you want to learn a different language, it would be a different class because this is just Python in Programming 1. That's all we're going to study this year because once you learn how to do one language, it's very easy to learn another language most of the time because you understand how a computer thinks. So, all right, so this program needs to be fixed because we got an error. So let's see. We need to define what fave pizza top is. So 4 spaces, fave pizza top. Now we can tell it what fave pizza top is so it knows what to print. So let's do it with an input statement. Parentheses, quote. Let's see. What is your favorite pizza topping? Question mark, quote, parentheses. Now when we run the program, it pops up this window. And let's say Canadian bacon. How about that? My favorite pizza topping is Canadian bacon too. Oh, see, the computer likes Canadian bacon just like I do. Lovely. All right, let's look at the next page. All right, pseudocode. All right, let's look at what pseudocode is. So now that we're getting into more complex coding, the program's getting more complicated. We need to be able to write a plan ahead of time so we don't forget anything. So that's what pseudocode is. It's an outline of your code that goes through the steps individually in an easy to understand human language. We don't have to write it in Python language. So as you begin to write longer code, you'll want to create a plan. So here's some pseudocode below. Input. And they just put input colon. The name of the sandwich, the type of bread, the meat, the toppings. Now, obviously, if we put that in Python, that's not going to run. It's going to create errors. It has no idea what to do with what I just typed there. Input, the name of the sandwich, type of bread. What? And output, display a message with the sandwich details, including the name, bread, meat, and toppings. Right? Well, Python's looking for a print statement, so this is not going to make any sense. But this is our pseudocode. Pseudocode. This is just our plan. So when we write the program, if we already have a plan, okay, let's see what I need to do. Oh, I need to have an input statement for the name of the sandwich. So I'll write my input statement. I need an input statement for the type of bread. Okay, so I'll write another input statement. The meat, and I'll write another input statement. And then after all of that, then I will make a print. Print a message that has the details. Oh, so you want to get this type of sandwich with this type of bread, with this meat and these toppings. So use it to plan your program from start to finish. Outline your steps as clearly as possible. This is pretty easy to understand what we need to write the program for. Use everyday words, not Python code. We didn't put print in there anyway. We didn't have a variable name in there. We could put the variable names in there if we want to remember that. Use short phrases to describe the steps. Like you could say input first name. I'll say, okay, I need to input the first name, input the last name. Everyone's pseudocode will look slightly different. There's not one answer. There's not one exact pseudocode I'm looking for everybody. Your pseudocode is going to be the way you write the plan. and then review it and make changes as necessary. Oh, I forgot something in here. Let me edit my plan and then write the statement. So let's look at these examples. Here's an example. I'm running good. Program purpose. So they wrote this: write a program to take someone's sandwich order. They should provide details about the sandwich, including the name and what's on it. And after the order is taken, it should be repeated back to the user. So the pseudocode input: ask the user, right? Ask the user for the name of the sandwich, the type of bread, the meat, and the toppings. And the output is going to be the message that basically repeats their order. Practicing pseudocode. Let's look at practicing this. So the goal is to write a program that asks the user to answer a joke and print the response to the screen. The pseudocode could look like this. Input: ask the user what computers like to eat. Output: display two messages. One will state what the user guessed, and the other will share the correct answer. Run program. Okay, so here's the program. This was the pseudocode that was written over here. So when I run it, what do computers like to eat? Let's say mice, since we have a mouse connected to our computer. You answered computers like to eat mice. If you answered chips, as in microchips, you're correct. Ha ha ha. So there we go, a little computer humor. So I didn't answer chips. I said mice. But that is the program, and this was the pseudocodes. Something very simple over here, written just in easy to understand language. Let's look at the next example. All right, now they've given us pseudocode, and we got to write the program to go with it. So write a program that asks the user to answer a joke, repeat the response, and share the correct answer. So use the following pseudocode to write the program. So it's input: ask the user what part of a computer does a spider use. Okay. So let's write our program. Give it some space in here. It's already indented for us. So we need an input. Do we want to assign it to a variable? Let's say computer part, because that was what we're having them answer. Computer part equals input, one word, quote. And then they want us to do this. So I'm just going to copy and paste it to make it quicker. What part of a computer does a spider use? Quote, parentheses. Okay, so there's our input statement, and we are assigning it to a variable. So then we need two messages, one that gives the user's guess. Print, parentheses, quote, you guessed, space, parentheses, plus computer part. That's where we're going to print whatever they inputted, plus, and then we want to put space, period, right there. So let's test what we got so far. What part of a computer does the spider use? The keyboard. How about that? I'm just going to say keyboard. You guessed keyboard. Okay, so far it works. No errors. And it printed exactly like I wanted to. You guessed, and with a space, there's that space, the period in. The other will show the correct answer. Webcam. So here. The correct answer is, and then, I can put the whole thing. Webcam. Were you correct? I'll just put that on there for fun. Run program. Again, I'm going to guess keyboard just because that's what I put last time. Okay. The correct answer is webcam. Were you correct? No, I was not correct. I was not correct. All right. Excuse me. That gets us to the end of the lesson. Follow the assignment template. Now I'm going to show you in our Google Classroom. You have the template. Come on, classwork. Okay, week 6. That's where we're at. Programming 1. Assignment template. And here's the grading rubric. So when you look at the grading rubric, it's more complicated now because of the pseudocode. Look, 10 points, 40 points, 30 points, 20 points. First, on the 10 points, do you have your name and date and the purpose of the program? Do you have those 3 comments? And did you indent the program properly? 40 points. That includes, did you have the pseudocode written that's clear? Did you use meaningful variable names? Do you have what's required? 3 interactive prompts. Did you use concatenation? And did you use slicing or indexing? Then 30 points, or does it run correctly? No syntax errors, no errors altogether, and does what it's supposed to do, produces the expected results. And then 20 points for those questions at the end. So let's look at the rubric that goes with this. So I've got the rubric right here. Okay, this is the rubric. When you open it up, it should make you a copy of this. And it gives the assignment. So you're supposed to decide on an interactive conversation that someone can have with a computer. So basically, you're writing a program where someone can chat with the computer. You should have at least 3 interactive prompts, those input statements, at least 3. Input should be assigned to variables. All right, so you're going to take those 3 inputs, assign them to variables. At least one time, use the indexing or slicing that we learned in the last lesson. That's where if I had motherboard and we just sliced out other out of that, or indexing, saying what the 5th character is or something. Use concatenation. That's the plus symbol. That's what we were doing in the program when we had your answer is plus variable name. That's concatenation. And write the pseudocode. Write the pseudocode. Be sure to include any input and output values. So you're going to put your pseudocode right here. So I'm going to say comments with name, date, purpose. My first thing in my pseudocode. And what else I would have? Let's see. Display welcome from computer. Because I'm going to say, hi, I'm computer, or whatever I want to call my computer. Input user name. Display hello to user. There's the start of my program. First, I'm going to display, hi, I'm the computer. What's your name? And then, the input will be, what's your name? And then I'll say, well, hello there, Sally, whatever the internet name. That's the start of my pseudocode. And I need to keep going till I've got 3 interactive prompts. At one point, like, hello, Sally, the first letter of your name is S. I would slice off the first letter of the name or something. Maybe that's how I want to use slicing. First letter of your name is this, or let's see, slow user. Display possible nickname, first 3 letters. So I could say, hello, Sally. Your nickname could be Sal, and I'll just have it slice off the first 3 letters of whatever they say their name is. Hello, Bob. Your nickname could be Bob. See, that wouldn't work too well. So right there, I could do an input statement, and this would be concatenation, and this would be slicing, because I would slice off the first 3 letters of the name and say, hey, this could be your nickname. Your nickname could be Sal. And then I still need 2 more input, at least 2 more inputs of whatever else I want the conversation to be. Hey, what is your favorite movie or something? Whatever. And then the computer says, hey, I like that movie. I like whatever. I like the Star Wars 2 or, whatever you want to put on there. So you'll write your pseudocode, your plan. Then you'll actually go to Buzz, open up idle, and write your code. All right. So then you'll go, where are we at? Then we'll go here and we'll actually write the program. But you already have your plan, so you know what to write. My plan told me, let's see. My plan said the first thing I'm going to do is my comments with name, date, and purpose. Okay. Hashtag Mr. Brock. Hashtag, what is today? Today is the 18th, September 18, 2023. Hashtag My purpose is conversation with a chatbot, whatever I want to call my computer. That's the first part of my plan. Display welcome from the computer. So, there's what I missed. Define main function. That'd be the first thing. I went back and fixed my code, my pseudocode, because the first thing I do is define main. Then what's my thing? Then I'm going to display welcome from computer. Print. Hello, I am chatbot. There we go. What's the next thing in my input username? I'm going to call it username as the variable. Input. What is your name? There we go. So far, so good. Of course, I would end my function down at the end. Because if I have my end on there, I can test it at any time. Run program. How am I doing? What is your name? Sally. Hello, I'm chatbot. Oh, I haven't printed it. Print. Why, hello. Plus username. Plus. All right, let me try that. Run program. Bad syntax in line 8 because I did not put a quote at the beginning. Sally. Hello, I'm chatbot. Why? Hello, Sally. See, because they entered Sally. So that's what you're going to do. You're going to go through and write the pieces of your program, write your plan, and then write your code, and then insert a copy of your code right here. When I'm done, I'm going to highlight all of this. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to go back to my template, and I'm going to paste it right there. Paste. See, I'm putting my program in right there. Oh, and then I got to fix it because that should be spaced the same as the print statement. There. Now I got them lined up. I'm good. Here's an example. Hi, I am we. Input name was used here, and it said, hi, Ada. Slicing was used here. The second letter of your name is D. Input animal was used here. I challenge you to name an animal starts with letter D. And it says, oh, I saw a duck. That was concatenation because that person entered duck. And it says, oh, I saw a duck in my backyard yesterday. Input an animal sound. So what's a duck sound like? And it says, oh, Ada, you sound silly quacking like that. It was nice chatting with you, Ada. Bye. See, that'd be a sample output for this program. See, we know there's at least 3 input statements, 1 concatenation and 1 slicing. And that's what was required for the program. So go through there and make sure you meet all of the requirements. And then don't forget to answer the question. Oh, this has it twice. Let me delete that. We don't need it twice. It's duplicated. All right. Then say, what was the purpose of your program? All right. So move that over. So answer all these questions. How can it be useful in the real world? What's the problem you ran into? What would you do differently next time? So there you go. That is 1.05. The template. I don't need to say that. Okay, I'm going to close this program out because it was just an example. All right, you have your instructions. I'll have this video posted later if you need to go back and review that and say, how did Mr. Brock do that? How did he say that? Look at that link that shows all those commands. If you want to get fancier and try to play, you can play around with some of them other commands, looking at that long list they had of all that good stuff. So I wonder if I could bookmark that page. That would be good. I don't know. It opens as a separate window, so maybe not. So, all right. Any questions? Kind of understand what your assignment is. You just got to figure out how to do it now, right? So, all right. Well, that's due Sunday. It's worth 100 points. Programs are worth 100 points in here, so you want to get that done and not let that hit as a 0. So, if you have any problems with it, you can always copy your program, email it to me, and say, Mr. Brock, I can't find my error. I don't know what's wrong. It keeps telling me there's an error on line 11. So if you copy and paste your code, I can copy and paste it in and run it. If you just take a screenshot of it, I can't copy and paste that. I can't put that back into idle and see what Python does with it. So you have to copy it and paste it in, so that way I can take it and paste it into Python and see what happens. So, all right, guys, I will let you go. Have a great week. If your grade's below 70, oh, this is a B week, so Wednesdays are only other day. I'll change my sign. But I'll see you Wednesday if your grade's below 70, unless you get your grade above 70.